The fire is already failing when the day begins. A thin line of smoke hangs in the air, unmoving. The cold presses in through the walls, settling into wood, into fabric, into bone. It does not arrive suddenly. It is already there. What kind of life unfolds in a place where warmth must be rebuilt every morning and is never enough to last the night? This is a single day in Siberian exile in the 19th century, reconstructed from records, memoirs, and the physical logic of survival in a land without electricity, without infrastructure, and without escape. This is Siberia, not as distance on a map, but as a system. A system where punishment is not only labor, but climate, isolation, and time itself. 8 stops. From the road that delivers bodies into exile, to a night where the cold defines the limits of life. With each step, the structure tightens. With each hour, survival becomes less certain. 3 forces shape everything. Cold that penetrates every surface. Control that fixes movement and limits return. Scarcity that governs food, fuel, and light. And behind all of it, a cycle that never breaks. Winter returns. Stop 1. The road into exile. The movement begins long before arrival. Chains scrape against frozen ground. Boots strike in uneven rhythm. A column stretches along the Siberian tract, moving east under watch, step by step. Processing begins at Tiumen, where records are taken and groups are formed for transport. From there, the journey continues across vast distances, measured not in miles, but in endurance. Days extend into weeks, weeks into months. At intervals, the kolonnai stop at Etap prisons, low structures designed to hold bodies temporarily, though nothing about them feels temporary. Air thickens with dampness and breath. Disease moves easily through overcrowded rooms. The journey itself becomes part of the punishment. Bodies weaken, collapse, and disappear from the line, absorbed into the silence of distance. Arrival does not mark an end. It marks a transition. Stop 2. The settlement without walls. There are often no physical barriers, such as walls or gates. No barrier that defines the boundary. Instead, a loose cluster of wooden structures sits pressed into the landscape. Barracks, huts, storehouses, arranged not by design but by necessity. This is the assigned location. Siberian exile operates through variation. Katorga camps impose labor within defined zones. Village settlements disperse individuals into frontier environments where survival replaces confinement. The absence of walls is not freedom. Distance performs the same function. Movement outward leads only into colder, emptier land, where resources thin and direction loses meaning. The system often relied on distance rather than physical confinement. And once placed, life reorganizes itself around what is available. Stop 3. The structure of shelter. Inside a wooden structure, the air shifts slightly. A central stove provides uneven warmth, radiating heat that fades quickly beyond its immediate reach. Walls are darkened by soot. Smoke lingers beneath the ceiling, held in place by poor ventilation. In regions such as Nerchinsk, barracks concentrate bodies into shared spaces where rows of sleeping areas line the walls. In other settlements, small log huts, izbas, house families, though space remains limited and construction minimal. Heating depends entirely on fuel. Wood must be cut, transported, and stored in sufficient quantity to survive extended winters. When supply falls short, interior temperatures drop rapidly, often approaching outdoor conditions. The stove becomes the center of life. It is not comfort. It is a temporary barrier against the environment, and it must be maintained constantly. Stop 4. Fuel and the work of staying warm. The forest becomes a system of extraction. Axes strike frozen timber. The sound carries sharply through cold air, echoing across still ground. Wood does not fall easily. It fractures, resists, demands repeated effort. This labor exists alongside assigned work. Fuel gathering is not optional. It determines whether heat will exist at all. Settlements cluster near accessible resources, wood, peat, or coal, because survival depends on proximity. Distance from fuel sources increases risk, forcing longer journeys and greater physical strain. Stockpiling becomes essential. Each bundle of wood represents time, hours of heat, hours of resistance against cold that does not recede. Failure to gather enough fuel produces immediate consequences. The cold returns quickly, filling spaces once held at bay. And once it enters, it is difficult to remove. Stop 5. Food and the limits of sustenance. Meals remain minimal. Black bread forms the foundation. Thin soups stretch limited ingredients. Grain porridge appears when available. Meat is occasional and insufficient. For katorga laborers, rations are fixed but inadequate for the level of exertion required. Historians describe the condition as chronic starvation, an ongoing deficit between energy expended and energy received. The effect accumulates. Strength diminishes. Recovery slows. Illness becomes more likely. Settler exiles receive land allotments, approximately 15 deciatins per family, but cultivation presents its own challenges. Soil quality varies. Tools are scarce. Knowledge of local conditions is limited. Short growing seasons reduce margins for error. Some settlements achieve partial stability. Others fail to produce enough, leading to dependency on external support or descent into deeper scarcity. Food shapes behavior. It influences movement, decision-making, and endurance. And when it is insufficient, everything else becomes harder to sustain. Stop 6. Labor as system. Work structures the day. In katorga sites, labor takes place in mines, smelting facilities, salt works, and industrial operations. In other areas, logging, road construction, and manual transport dominate. Tasks are repetitive and physically demanding. Working conditions lack regulation. Protective equipment is minimal or absent. Accidents occur frequently. Falls, equipment failures, environmental hazards. Injury carries long-term consequences. Recovery is uncertain, and reduced capacity affects access to food and standing within the system. Not all exiles remain confined to enclosed sites. Some operate as bonded laborers, attached to specific industries or estates, with limited freedom to engage in supplementary activities such as hunting or trade. Administrative and political settlers function more like frontier peasants, combining subsistence farming with seasonal work. Regardless of category, labor remains constant. It does not adjust easily to individual condition and continues regardless. Stop 7. Social space and isolation. Sound decreases as work ends. Settlements do not produce continuous activity. Instead, they settle into stillness punctuated by small, contained interactions. Institutional structures, schools, churches, formal gathering places are limited or absent. Communities generate their own forms of organization when possible. Among political exiles, such as the Decembrists, education becomes a central activity. Languages are taught, scientific knowledge is shared, informal schools emerge, extending beyond exile populations into surrounding communities. For others, social life remains restricted. Interaction centers on immediate surroundings: the barracks, the household, occasional communal spaces. Boredom appears frequently in recorded accounts, not as absence of activity, but as absence of variation. Time extends without clear markers. Communication with distant regions is slow. Letters take months or fail to arrive. Isolation develops gradually. It is not enforced directly. It emerges from distance, repetition, and limited connection. Final stop: night and the limits of light. Darkness arrives early. Candles and oil lamps provide limited illumination, their light confined to small areas. Shadows fill the remaining space, expanding as fuel diminishes. Outside, temperatures fall further. Movement beyond the settlement becomes impractical, then impossible. There are no external light sources, no infrastructure extending beyond immediate habitation. The environment absorbs everything beyond reach. The absence of electricity defines the rhythm of night. Activity contracts. Heat becomes the primary concern. Fuel reserves are monitored closely. Fires are maintained as long as possible, though supply often dictates duration. When the fire weakens, interior conditions shift. Cold re-enters gradually, settling into surfaces and air. Sleep occurs within this environment. Layered clothing, proximity to heat sources, limited insulation. Night often provided limited rest due to cold and conditions. It marks a continuation of exposure under reduced light and lowered temperature. This is known through administrative records, transport logs, and exile writings. These sources do not capture every experience. They reveal consistent patterns. What occurs within this system extends beyond individual lives. Siberian exile functions as a mechanism of imperial expansion. Labor contributes to infrastructure, roads, settlements, resource extraction. Populations increase through forced relocation. Regions develop through coercion. At the same time, the system imposes sustained physical and psychological strain. Bodies are shaped by labor and environment. Communities form under constraint. Cultural practices adapt to isolation. The cost remains embedded in shortened lives, in persistent scarcity. In the transformation of exile from punishment into condition, the question remains: could such a life be endured? Or does endurance itself become a form of change? Until the distinction between survival and adaptation disappears, and the cold is no longer resisted, but simply lived with